St.Gobnait's wood, St.Gobnait, would also be known as a coppice wood or a copse. The tree was regularly cut. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stemmed stool or stump. These are called springs or poles. So the more you cut the tree, the more carbon it absorbs. In fact, 5 times more carbon is absorbed by a coppice than by a maiden tree. Coppicing and pollarding now was a Norman practice. It never really established in Ireland, though we have a Castle Pollard up in the Midlands. Coppicing is described in the Brehon law codes, the codes of neighbourhood. So it would have been the normal methodology of woodland management in certain woodlands. And the idea being that if I was in charge of this publicly owned wood, I would bring it back under coppice.
Okay.
Because if a coppice wood is not maintained, the timbers lose anchorage and the stool begins to get attacked by saprophytic or decomposer fungi and saproxylic or decomposer insects, woodworms and that whole relay. So maybe it's beyond coppicing, but certainly it needs a pollard. The thing when you're coppicing is you must fence out grazing animals because they'll graze the new shoots.
Yeah. So they won't develop.
They won't develop. So deer would have been here. Deer is strongly associated with St.Gobnait. But deer cannot be permitted into rejuvenating coppice because they'll simply devour all the young seedling oak and holly. What's missing here as well is yew. Yew would have been here. It must have been. Yew occurs in all of the native woodlands of Ireland, or it would have, till we began to practice wood pasture. Wood pasture. Do you understand wood pasture?
That's a mixture of pasture and woodland.
Yeah, woodland management, but including the grazing of livestock. I suppose now there's current research showing that ivermectin, poron, it's a fungicide for cattle. We now know that the dung claps, the claps of cattle that have been treated with ivermectin, is residually active and enters the mycorrhizal root feeding systems of trees, so that any dosed cattle could kill a wood.
Okay.
Because they kill off the mycorrhiza, the fungi, the soil fungi that are feeding the tree. We're not the only organisms, they say we are, but we're not the only organisms that needs our food pre-treated. The entire plant kingdom cannot eat food. The food must be pre-treated by certain fungi and then delivered to the feeding roots, to the rapidly cellularly dividing root tips. But it must be pre-treated. There is talk now that ash never really fully developed such a way of feeding, and that ash apparently feeds by an osmosis, a very primitive form of feeding, simply sucking atoms of nitrate and potassium, kalium, the Arabic, and phosphorus and the like, calcium and the others. So we haven't seen any ash yet, but down by the river there is a lot of ash, alder and sally. There are a number of different types of woods within St.Gobnait. This is the old oak wood.
Right.
Now, I wanted Misha to look at this fern here. In the Habitats Directive, they name this wood. Incidentally, its site code is 106, SAC 106. But the name of this wood in scientific terms is called the Blecno quercetum. Quercus is the Latin for an oak tree. It's also the scientific name for the genus of oak. We have 3 types of oak in this wood, and in Cascade wood, about 30 hectares of Cascade wood across the Solon River. This is Blecnum. This is Blecnum. This is the Blecnum fern. Blecnum, the hard fern. Blecnum spicant. So Blecno quercetum means that this particular wood, its primary indicator, its primary indicator is this fern. This fern tells us that we're on an acid soil arising out of an acid type of rock. Rock doesn't have a pH until it's wet, but we can see that this is telling us you won't get this in the limestone yew woods and juniper scrubs of North Limerick around Askeaton, Creeves, Barragone or on the Burren. This is a very special plant. So it tells us we are in an SAC, we are in a Bleckno quercetum. So you must look out for this fern if you're trying to identify what class of an oak wood you're in. This is not a common oak. There is common oak here, but it's not a common oak wood. It's a sloped wood, therefore it's mainly a sessile oak wood. A lovely example here of the coppice. The trees cut to the ground and grows again. I said earlier that beech were brought by the Cromwellian carpenters in the mid-17th century. We never saw beech in Ireland before, but it also coppices so well. Now this tree, I've already measured it, I've measured it over the years. It's growing at about 1.5 centimetres per year on the main shoot or pole. There's two main shoots. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's actually 6 poles or springs, but 2 of them are the ones I've been watching, and it's a very, very healthy tree. Great tree. Mainly for furniture. Beech for furniture. Yew for bows and arrows. Oak for ships. Ash for cartwheels. Ash and holly cartwheels and carts and coach building. So that every tree had its economic and its social and its environmental use.